It's the Playhouse Podcast with Kat and JJ.
Can't believe it. I missed everything.
Missed the show?
What am I going to do?
Check out the Daily Podcast.
Florence Nightingale Syndrome, Florence Nightingale Effect. The nurse falls in love with the patient falls in love with the nurse. We kind of brought this up this morning because Kat's friend is kind of going through this as she's a nurse in California and after all the wildfires. But then we got an amazing call from a local nurse, and the stuff she was able to divulge to us is pretty incredible. It's coming up in a couple of seconds. Here comes the podcast.
Bingo! How fun!
Last week, someone lost an eye at bingo.
Bingo! Bingo what bingo?
Bingo!
This is the part of the show where Kat and I are each looking for a unique story from you, and we kind of run parallel lines today, but Kat's looking for anyone listening who
stayed somewhere that was less desirable. But also, if you're doing your research online, most of the time you get a glance at what you'll be staying in. This couple, though, on TikTok went to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, to stay in the Great Smoky Mountains, right? Where you would might find yourself staying on a slope. And
Yeah,
like
too
slopey.
We're not. Let's show you. This is the driveway, and for people that are in mountains, this might not be a big deal. For us who don't live in mountains, this is kind of a big deal, especially late at night. It's supposed to rain tomorrow. This scares me. The whole mountain that we have to drive through is very uphill.
So you rented a cabin on a mountain, and you're pissed that it's on a mountain.
Yeah, but I mean, people are going in on them because they're like, how did you not know you're in a mountain? You know, you're on the mountainside. So you stayed somewhere that was less desirable.
And I'm looking for anyone listening who went on vacation and ended up being just a complete dud. Like I said, my friend Jim is in Florida, and he's visiting his brother. So I think that's kind of cool to see your family. But they went to a spring training game, twin spring training game the other day. Ended up 0-0. And he was just like texting me that he's like so disappointed. He's like, it's like kissing your sister.
Thought there'd be more action.
Well, especially in a spring training game, like you expect it to be, a team's going to score 7, 8, 9 runs because you're playing all the players you want to try and make your roster. So good morning, Lindsay. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. How are you guys?
Great. Thank you. I appreciate you calling. Which one fits for you the best?
Well, I don't know. It's kind of both.
Okay.
It's I went on a trade show to Las Vegas for a clothing store, like a retail shop.
Okay.
And I went with my mom because I was working for her business at the time, and my sister. And I brought my newborn baby
To Vegas.
And yeah, to Las Vegas, which is crazy. But we were at the trade show, and so you walk around all day, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, we stayed at the La Quinta Inn, which is like off the strip. It's just like cheaper or whatever. And I had brought my baby was like 3 months old. Anyway, so my dad had given me a video camera. Like, this was like back in the day, then you have a video camera.
Sure.
And so I brought that because we had all of our stuff. We went shopping all day. We had like invoices all over the hotel room, whatever. Anyway, so somebody broke into our hotel room and stole my video camera, and that had my birth.
Oh,
my birth on there.
What do you think they thought when they rewound that?
Right? I know. I was like, oh, my God, this is so embarrassing. Like, somewhere in the world is, like, me giving birth. And I don't know if they got it in the wrong hands or if they just chucked the cassette or whatever it was, like a hard drive or whatever. But, I was like, well, this is crazy,
Now, was it the videotaping of the birth from that angle, or was it shoulders up?
No, it was probably from that angle.
Oh, it's all over the internet, Lindsay.
Yeah.
That makes me so sad.
I haven't actually.
And it was definitely a guy that took it, because I feel like a female would have been like, oh, this is such a special moment. I have to return this. Or at least
nobody's returning a stolen video camera.
The room.
I think you're right, though. I think they probably chucked the cassette, took it to the pawn shop, got $20.
I hate this happened at a La Quinta. I love a good La Quinta.
Cat's
honestly.
all sticking up for La Quinta.
I've only had great experiences at La Quintas.
Me too. And you know what? So we stayed there again the next year. But I was like, Mom, are you crazy? Like, we shouldn't stay there again. But it was just, we love the La Quinta too.
Yeah.
It's turning into an endorsement ad for La Quinta.
Tell them we sent you.
I know. Right. Sorry.
And you didn't have any other copies. And have you, I know this sounds weird, but have you ever done a deep dive on the internet for birth videos to see if you're out there?
I have not, actually. No, I haven't.
Your next day off.
I never even watched the video.
Oh.
Because she was only 3 months old, and so it was just. Which probably you're probably not even. It's not even necessary to keep that video, I suppose. But it was still just they took the whole thing, and I was like, damn, I didn't even get to see it.
I don't know. Take a picture down there and then put it on Google.
Oh yeah, if you match it up on Google.
Because they have Google Match. Say, I'm just trying to find my birth video. Okay.
You just need set up your phone. take another quick, 2 or 3 minutes segment and just repost it and see if they can match it up on Google.
Good luck.
Yeah, sounds good.
All
Similar
right.
video.
Thanks for
Best.
calling.
Thanks for having us on. Have a great
thanks,
morning.
guys.
Bye.
Yeah, you too.
Oh, that
gotta
makes
be the
me
worst
sad.
nightmare.
Yeah.
Your whole bits and pieces are out there.
I would be very paranoid for a long time, but I'm sure it just ended up in the trash right away. But.
We've got email.
And I purposely didn't show this to you this morning because I feel like after listening to you for the last, almost 20 years, I think I know how you're going to react to this, but I do want to get your genuine reaction to it.
All right.
Hey, Kat and JJ, I feel like I'm having my worst nightmare. My teenage daughter is dating somebody who's 24. I don't care about an age gap among adults in a relationship, but when it's your high school daughter, it's a different story. Unfortunately for me, I watch a lot of these investigation true crime shows, and I know Kat says she watches them all the time as well. I'm always thinking the worst. Plus, I've noticed a few red flags, and it's only been a few weeks that they've been dating. She's 17, still lives under my roof. I'm afraid if I approach her the wrong way, I'll push her further away or worse, further into his arms.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. Any advice would be appreciated. Thank you and your listeners in advance. I'll leave her name out of it right now.
Okay, so the age gap was not a problem after 18. But the thing is, if they are 16 and he's 22, what's wrong with him? Why can't he date around his age? And I also think there are so many distractions that could overpower your priorities in high school. Like, you have to graduate high school. And if you have somebody that is not there every single day, asking about your ins and outs of school, who you be talking to, you know what I mean? Like, that can really weigh on especially a teenage girl's mind.
So when you were 17, you were dating a 40-year-old, right?
No, I was not. I was 18 and a half, dating a 38-year-old man.
Were you still living at home?
No, because I moved in with him for 6 months. So
How'd your parents say to that?
they couldn't say anything. They are 20 years apart.
Oh.
And I think for the first half of our relationship, they didn't know. They didn't know about him.
And you hid it because
there is a stigma. It's a bit odd.
That's the same thing, though. That guy's 40. He can't find anyone his age.
And that's
he
true.
was dating
That's true.
you at 18 and a half.
Listen, we had a lot in common. We had a lot of fun times.
Like what? Early retirement?
No, there were some things I couldn't relate to, like mortgage,
401ks,
and the Atkins diet. There were certain things that definitely made me go, okay, I'm dating an older man. But then there were a lot of moments where I'm like, this is, we connect. And I just think when somebody is in high school, you just have to kind of stick with that age range, or else it gets very complicated.
So this is sticky, right? How do you handle this? Because immediately my first reaction is, nope, it's over. You never get to see him again, right? But what are they going to do? They're 17. They probably got a car. They got a little freedom. Of course they're going to go see this guy.
Don't you think this is, as a parent, your chance to throw your weight around a little bit? Like, listen, you live here and you will respect our rules and have a conversation. How much older is he? Is it 6 years? You said?
Well, he's 24 and she's 17.
24, 17.
So that's 7 years difference. But here, again, my biggest fear would be you push her away and she ends up with this guy, knocked up, not graduating high school,
right,
not having a path for the future. And I'm not saying people's lives haven't gone that way and they've had great lives. But when you dream about your kid, you want them to at least finish high school and then move on whichever way they want, right? Find a direction in life and path that out. Now, I don't know this guy. He might be the nicest, most genuine, generous 24-year-old on the planet.
But he's still 24. You're in a totally different place. Like, when you're with your high school sweetheart your whole life, you grow up 5 different times before you're 40.
And I hate to break it to you, but as innocent as you think your 17-year-old daughter is, if she's dating a 24-year-old guy, there's one thing he really wants, and it's not companionship.
Right.
It's not someone to talk about my workday with, and then that's illegal.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And then you can use that. And you don't want to make your daughter that angry where you're like, listen, I might have to go to authorities if you're going to keep this up because you're under 18, you're under my roof.
Yeah, but that
You
kid's
can
going to
do it, but-
rebel. If you do that,
I know.
I firmly believe if you tell your kid you can't do something because of this and this, they're going to want to do it more because I was that kid.
Yeah. I say start off with that very nice, mature conversation. I know you love him, but this is not what we're doing right now. You need to focus on your education, being a kid. Once you're 18, man, it's over. You have bills, you have real life hitting you hard. So I'm all about letting kids be kids until then. And what if she gets pregnant? Now you're done.
Paul had just texted in, this is your chance to go talk to her boyfriend and shut it down now.
And if he really loves her,
He'll wait.
He'll wait. He'll say, you are so right. I don't want any bad blood between us if we do have a future. Because once you hit 24 and he's 30, it's not that big of a deal. You know what I mean? Derek is 6 years older than I am. It's not a big deal. So
in your marriage, if this happened, who would be the one to go confront the guy? You or Derek?
Me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yep. Ashley had texted, I met my husband when I was 17. He was 23. We've now been together for 11 years. We didn't have our first child until I was 21. Okay.
That a girl?
And you're kind of beating the odds. I don't know if that happens often where you guys are both on the same
You never
page.
hear about it when it goes that path because that's like a pan path, right? A plan path. You only hear about it when it goes awry. But I do have this up on our Facebook page. So if you have thoughts, definitely post up there. I want to get all these, then we'll kick them back to, we'll call her Beth, whatever, because that's not her name. But I saw the email and I was like, oh my gosh, this is kind of the life Cat led. And if you have a teenage daughter, how would you react if she's 17, her boyfriend's 24, and you feel like if you shut this down, you're going to push her right into his arms? What would you do? If you had to remember one epic bad date in your world, what would have it looked like?
Bad date. I have to go back to when I was in high school. I was in 9th grade and I got the attention of this senior, and he was the senior from movies, where starter
Freddie
on the
Prinze
football.
Jr.?
Yes, starter on the football team, all-star wrestler for my high school, and he was an office runner, and he started hitting on me, and I was like, oh, this is I like this attention. This is nice. And he would run notes, and they would say they'd look official, like a note from my mom or something like that, and I'd open it up, and that's how he asked me, hey, this Friday, do you want to go on a date? And I'm like, oh my God, yes. And so I'm sitting at home, and I remember waiting for him to come pick me up because I was 13 and I was just dousing myself in cucumber melon, right? And I was painting my nails over and over again, just making sure that I looked incredible. And he brings me, we were going to go to dinner and a movie, and he brings me to Burger King. Still to this day, I've never eaten at a Burger King. I just sat there because when I'm 13, I don't eat in front of boys.
All right.
Which I'm very happy to see that trend is gone because girls just eat away in front of boys, which I think is very important. We do eat. But we get there and he orders all this stuff, including a little pie. And
He got dessert.
then he does the pat of the pockets. And he's like, oh, man, I must have left my wallet at home. And we are about 35 minutes away from the town we lived in. And I'm like, oh, I got money. And I had money that my mom had given me for some reason. And so I pay for that. Then I'm like, well, he doesn't have his wallet. I'm going to have to pay for the flipping movie too. So I had to pay for the movie, and he wanted snacks. And so I paid for that. And that 2 dates was the worst date I've ever been on.
No second date?
No second date.
You did. I can tell by the pause in your
I
voice.
did stuff with him. I messed around with him at his house. At his house, I went over and watched a movie. And listen,
This guy hits on you, asks you out to a date. You pay for the meal. You pay for the movie. You pay for the snacks, and you still went and messed around with this guy?
Yeah, I did.
What a hoochie.
I know. I was
What
in
a
it. I was in
hoochie.
it for that. And I was like, that was very short-lived. Maybe a couple of weeks after that, and then it was done.
A couple weeks.
But the word got around that he was a cheapskate because he never reimbursed me. He was never like, oh, when we get back to my house, to my wallet, I'm going to make sure that I make good and give you back your money. He never did that. And I was like, oh, gross. Cheap guys are gross.
Give me a snapshot of your worst date, Brad.
I got T-boned by another car.
Okay, so that's obviously pretty bad. You go out on the date.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, you're in a car accident.
Ideal.
I'm just looking for snapshots here. Give me, just in a line or two, your worst date. Jerome.
This past Valentine's date, man, we ended up getting pulled over on our way back from a local Italian restaurant.
Jeez.
Hey, the cop let me go. We got a nice warning because he was looking for someone who was drinking and driving, I'm sure.
So you're minding your P's and your Q's, and you're getting away with the ticket. I like that. Andy?
Just not too long ago, we were on our way out for a date and blew a tire and kind of ruined the whole night.
Anything that
All
is
this has to do with cars.
auto maintenance stuff is pretty bad. Jasmine, I know yours is pretty good here, right?
Oh my gosh, I can't even make this up. So I got picked up by this guy, and he took me out to dinner, and he ordered, we had to share an entree. I didn't even get my own entree. And then afterwards, he took me to a strip club. I ran off into the bathroom, texting all my friends, saying, somebody has to come pick me up.
What guy thinks that that's an appealing date to a lady?
I don't know.
If you bring it, okay, we're having dinner, and you bring it up, and you're like, I really, really like strip clubs. Then I'd be like, all right, well, we're going to go over here then.
Maybe let's save it for our joint bachelorette party down the road.
I just can't imagine picking up a girl and being like, by the way, you want to share some pasta and go see Mercedes up on stage? You know what I mean?
What a weird date combo.
All right, I got time for one more real quick. Donnie?
Me and a girl I was getting with went over to hang out with one of my cousins for her birthday, and he got pissed that I was dating her, wanted to get with her, and he ended up setting me on fire.
There it is.
Oh
we got a
my
winner.
God.
We got a winner. We got a winner. You thought your date was
I'm
bad?
trying to think of a county.
I can think of 5 towns off the top of my head where this guy lives. Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it.
I
real
love
quick.
love triangles because, I mean, they keep Maury in business, but they're always so sensational.
Can you imagine you're just out on a date and your cousin lights you on fire?
Just to take the focus off you so he can slide in.
Okay, so as a female, you got these 2 guys fighting over you. And the one guy lights the other guy on fire because he wants you so bad. Who do you go with? Light on fire guy or arson guy?
I'm an empath, probably the one that's on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Florence Nightingale Syndrome, I guess, can be kind of spun one of 2 ways. You're a nurse that has empathy for your patient. I think that's the original story, is Florence Nightingale fell in love with one of her patients.
But it was also the way that she helped treat them. It was unorthodox, and it was kind of just treating them as people instead of patients.
Yeah.
And it worked, but then it got spun into Florence Nightingale Syndrome. So that was Florence Nightingale effect.
Okay, so
this
there's an
is
effect
the
and a
syndrome.
syndrome. The syndrome is where the patient falls in love with the nurse.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is where some type of sexual feelings or emotional feelings develop as somebody being a caregiver to somebody that needs it. But I was talking to my friend Gina, who I think you've met before, but she now lives in L.A. She used to work here as a nurse for a long time, lives in L.A. She wasn't affected by the wildfires, but she's been dealing with a lot of people, especially firefighters that come in with smoke inhalation issues and stuff like that. So she said the other day that something happened to her for the first time in 25 years of being a nurse.
She caught feelings.
That she said that she walked in and it was a fire, not a full-time firefighter, but like a reserve.
Okay.
And he was in and he was dealing with something with his lungs. And she said it was like out of a movie. She walks in and they lock eyes. And she said, I felt so weird in that moment. I had to go back to my ethics class and think, okay, this is what you have to do. Go through the motions, Gina, because she's like, he was so hot, so sweet, had no wife, no girlfriend. She's like, it was almost a perfect situation, except for he was my patient. And I'm like, he won't always be your patient. Like what if you got all his info? I'm not saying music because that's HIPAA. It's HIPAA, I know.
No.
I'm a DJ, I can say this. But I'm not saying it's ethically correct to do.
But like, let's say you run into this guy 3 weeks later at the grocery store.
He's not your patient anymore. He was once your patient.
You can say hi, and you could probably. Yeah.
How are you feeling? Or I don't even think you could say that. Like, I don't think you can acknowledge the fact that you treated him.
But you can say, how are you feeling? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just like me saying it.
Hey.
How you doing?
How are you doing?
Good.
Been a few weeks.
Want a bump?
But I don't think she'll do that. But I said, isn't that like a Florence Nightingale thing?
Now, Devin is on line 3. He's a nurse. And apparently you've had patients fall for you, right?
I've had it happen to me twice.
No
and,
way.
Yeah, I I like to think that I'm a decent looking guy and I take care of myself, but I was really just doing my job both times.
Yeah.
Nothing more, nothing less, I promise.
Okay, so break down what would happen. Like you would go in, you'd have a new patient, you'd go through the motions, like do the vitals, all that stuff.
Yeah, they would be assigned to my floor. I would go in, all the nurses have a caseload, and those were people that were just in my 4 rooms that I was responsible for. So I'd go in, I'd give them their medication, I'd check on their vitals, I'd make sure that everything was set, and then I would excuse myself and leave the room.
How did you find out that they had caught feelings? So that's what I'm curious of.
Oh, well, the first one was just plainly obvious. She was like overly flirtatious. She was, and at first I just smiled and laughed it off because I'm trying to be polite. I'm trying to make a sick person feel better.
Right.
I'm trying to just be a nice guy. But it became very obvious with her heavy flirtation, and she flat out slid me her number when she got kicked off the floor, or not kicked off, but like when she got released.
Yeah.
She slid me her number.
Okay, so maybe like I'm healthy now. Hit me up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so that was one of them. What about the other one?
But the second one was flat out just crazy. She laid it on thick from the second I walked in. And it happens a lot where she was under the influence of a lot of medication, trying to heal after a surgery. And people say things that they maybe wouldn't normally say. So as medical professionals, we just let it go.
Okay.
But this girl just kept laying it on. It got so bad that when she was released from the floor, she showed up with flowers and candy, supposedly for the floor, but was looking for me.
Okay, and so that made you a little
she sought
nervous.
Me out. Well, the first time it made me nervous. The second time when she showed up and she wanted to go out on a date and had to be removed by security, it was a little more than nerves.
Yeah, and normally I'd say, like, what did you learn from this whole situation? But you were just there doing your job. Like,
I swear I was just doing my job.
Can you imagine? I'm going to put you on hold for a second because I want to hear what other people have experienced this way. But can you imagine just going about your regular routine, right? And you have to be as compassionate as you can be, but you still have to be a professional.
Yeah.
And then realizing, like, they want to get after it.
But then also some cases have to get really intimate. Like, I had a male nurse that was also my neighbor when I was in the hospital here in town.
So you knew him before you went into the hospital?
But it was, yes. And he was the one that would walk his cat around the perimeter of his house. But it's such a nice guy. But he walked in and he was like, "Oh, hey, how are you feeling?" I'm like, well, obviously not the best. But it was right after I had a C-section. So he had to go down there and make sure that everything was healing, right? And so he saw a good amount. But like, I want to know, nurses out there, and we'll keep you anonymous where you don't even have to say where you work, not even your real name. But have you had that connection with a patient that you had to remind yourself right away, like, got to keep it in check, stay professional, get the IV bag?
So I've had this happen. One of my, like, just when you go in for your annual checkup, right? Like, as a guy, you go in for a physical. My daughter was dating his son at the time when I started seeing him.
Yeah.
And then they had broken up. And our doctor-patient relationship got cold.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because she broke it off. It got cold. And right now,
why is your daughter
my doctor, his son plays hockey with my son.
Uh-huh.
So, like, every time we're hanging out after a game or before a game, like, I go out of my way to keep it strictly like friendship kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to ask him about, anything because I'm like, that it makes him feel uncomfortable. Plus, like, as a doctor or a nurse, are you even supposed to be giving medical advice when you're not, like, on the job?
Maybe it's like casual conversation, maybe not advice, but like they could just maybe talk out loud with things that they know.
All of this is really weird stuff. So if you're in this profession, can you share a little bit with us? Like Kat said, we can keep you anonymous, but you got to call now, okay? Talking about the Florence Nightingale effect, the Florence Nightingale Syndrome.
So the effect is more medical, but the syndrome is more of like an emotional connection with either your patient or as a nurse. And I mean, you're only human. When I was talking to my friend Gina, who is a nurse out in LA and had this run-in with a patient who was like so easy on the eyes. He is a reserve firefighter dealing with the wildfires out there. And she's like, he was just so hot that she has never in 25 years of nursing had that feeling.
She caught a feeling.
She caught some feels but right away went back into nurse mode. How can I help you? And didn't do anything about it. And I'm like, he was single. He was hot. You had a connection. don't fight it.
How about this connection? Shannon texted in, I had a colonoscopy.
Oh.
And in the main nurse in the butt room was somebody I graduated from high school with.
My God.
Awkward.
Poor nightmare unlocked. Like I have had about 9 colonoscopies, and it's a very intimate group that's in there before they head on in. And you just know they're talking about you.
Hi, Megan. How are you?
Hi, good morning, guys.
We have so many questions about the medical world. So number one, how do you represent the medical world? How do you fit in?
So I am a registered nurse, but I'm also a respiratory care practitioner. So I've got 2 roles here in the healthcare world.
Okay.
Can you date?
And my background is mostly critical care, but I've never dated a patient, but I've had a lot of patients' families try to date me.
Let's go.
Okay. Family members that are bringing their family member in to get treated, they are the ones hitting on you?
Yeah, so I've had a few intubated patients just hanging out, take care of them, got a brother very interested in me, and I'm like, we don't cross that line.
Yeah.
That's a for sure no-no. Like, he could be the hottest guy in the world, and you're caring for his brother, and he puts the moves on you, and you're just like, I'm not having it.
No, I mean, that is just, and then when you run into them out and about in the community, like I swear I always run into the same people, and they still shoot their shot.
Yeah. But I mean, if
knowing
you're
I'm
out
married.
at the bar, knowing you're married.
Oh, they know. Oh, yeah.
God,
they know.
how hot are you?
Wear my kids and my family on my badge. I am not that hot, I promise you. But it's the tattoos for them, apparently. The full sleeves is a big deal.
Got it. And I bet it's the fact that you're a caregiver. There's something hot about that. Somebody that
there is
does that for a living.
I snatched my husband up.
Oh, okay. Was he a patient?
Actually, no. Well, no. We met at a football game.
Okay.
No, I had to think about that.
Okay.
Take me back.
Now I got a couple other questions. Like, let's say I run into my doctor and we're at we're at the Twins game, and everybody's at the bar, and I'm like, oh my God, hey, how are you? Like, can he give me medical advice right there?
Ideally, no. We're supposed to do it when we're on the clock, just because of a lot of things can happen. Liability, if you were to listen to the advice and it was wrong advice, then he could be sued for liability. Like, there's just a lot of things we're not supposed to say or do. I get it all the time. I'll run into someone and they'll whip off their shoe and want to show me their toenail, and I'm like, what? I can't even tell you. Why don't you just go get some foot spray and call your doctor? Like,
isn't there a way of saying certain things? Like, I feel like if you have a doctor friend and they would just talk out loud instead of saying, this is what you need to do, then they're in the clear, right?
Oh, I do it all the time.
Yeah, like, I've had a patient with that before, and this is what they did,
Yep.
but definitely ask your doctor about it.
Okay, Megan, I know you're busy and I know you got to go, but last case scenario, you're at the grocery store and Kat and I are shopping for a radio station party, and we've both got a butt problem, and you've got to choose one of us to pull down our pants and take a look up the chute. Who do you go with?
Oh, it's going to be Kat.
Yeah, I'm still fresh from Punta Cana, so I'm still looking nice.
I mean, I don't think you're aware of all the plumbing problems she's had. Like, I got a clear system.
Let me tell you, I've seen some plumbing problems, so I think I can handle hers.
Jesus, all right.
Okay, well, will you at least, tell me the truth? In a room of, 5 people that are getting ready to do a colonoscopy, once that person goes to sleep, are they talking about it? Are they like...
Oh, we talk about you all the time. For sure.
I knew it.
I know at Christmas, you're pretty famous for just making a shopping list and telling them to go get your stuff. Do you do the same on your birthday?
No, you know what I told Derek I want this year? I want one of those scalp spas.
I don't know what that is.
Gets your scalp in really good shape. After not Mexico, Dominican, I just fried.
Dry.
I just fried it, and because I didn't wear a hat. Normally I wear a hat in the pool, and cut to you're in the pool for 7 hours. And then I go in the shower that night, and it was just it hurt so badly. And then it started peeling, and now I want it to get in fresh shape for it.
Is it like what is it called? A scalp?
It's a scalp spa, and it's just it's like a car wash for your scalp.
Is it a hat you put on then?
No, only a few salons do it in the state.
Oh,
and
it's a service you want.
Yeah. And so you go in and they do a scalp mask, and then they do a scrub, and you have a Kylie Jenner scalp, which is pure white, healthy. That's what I want. So that's all I want.
You know what you got to get? And my daughter Reagan just had her birthday, and we got her an Aura ring. and she was showing me all the data that your phone collects off one of these things. It's her sleep patterns, her stress patterns. It tells her like she's on this like workout kick, and like I think it's helping alleviate her stress if she's getting into the really, really tough times of her studies. And so it's telling her, you worked out too hard today for the amount of rest you're getting. Like
mine would say that all the time.
I'm sure it would. But it's your sleep stuff, it's your nutrition, it's your anxiety and your stress levels, and all of this stuff you get off this little ring that you're wearing.
Yeah,
and
I think
like,
that's so stupid.
I got to get one of these.
No. Wow. What a waste of money.
It'll even tell you throughout the day what time you should go to bed at night if you want your body to properly recover. So yours would be like you'd be going to bed at like 1 a.m. and getting up at 3 because you hadn't did anything all day.
Right.
And then, but most of us. But
are you with me with my ins and outs of my day? I'm quite busy, sir. So back it off. I don't need a ring to tell me if I'm stressed. My eye will twitch. I'll feel a certain way. I have a brain. So I'd like to know how many people have an Oura ring and actually do something about the data that they get.
I think there's the Oura ring, and then I think there's one that's a little bit less expensive that might not give you as much data. But yeah, I would also like to know because I'm really, really going to pine for one. I think that's one. I just want to start squirreling away some money and get one. The problem is they're a little bulky. Like she wears hers on her like pointer finger. Like this is it.
Oh,
like,
that's as big as my friend Erica's.
Oh, it's really you can get it a little bit smaller. So like I always wear a silicone one because my wedding ring had just broke so many times at the gym. Yeah. And this one's more comfortable. It doesn't feel like it's ever going to slip off. But that would be my biggest fear is it's a little too bulky.
Mm.
And
I also want one of those huge candles that are like this big around, like one of those big Home Depot buckets that Khloe Kardashian has on her island.
Don't you read about like how bad they are for your lungs?
They're so pretty.
I know, but you're going to die like 3 years earlier for every
we're
one
all
of those
going to die.
Last night, my wife and I, like, we were tired. We get back and we both just kind of, had like half days. And she goes, "Do you want to go play bingo?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And my daughter, who is like, she's got a crazy, like a huge anatomy test today. And so she comes back from college last night. And I'm like, "Well, you're studying for all these exams. Like, you're trying to figure out which med school you're going to go to." She's like, "I needed a break."
Yeah.
She's like, "I was in the library for 8 hours yesterday. I was in the library for 6 hours today." She's like, "I just needed a break." So we just sat there and laughed and played some bingo last night. And yeah, that was just kind of the wrap up of my day.
Good for her. Yeah, a good break will do her some good. But speaking of anatomy, Liam had to do for his health class yesterday. They did the anatomy of males and females.
Oh,
he's like,
and all the boys start
diagram
giggling.
Was so big. He's like, they had the female body and the boy body, and like our teacher was like, "Yeah, you guys don't cause a ruckus, but I'm an idiot to think that you wouldn't smirk or have some type of reaction because you're 7th grade." But you know what they told him in 5th grade? They were supposed to watch the video in 5th grade about the differences in the bodies. And his teacher back then said, "There will be no laughing. You will be penalized if you laugh." I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be 40 and I would laugh if there was a big wiener in front of me.
They tried to do the same thing when I was in school too. And and like, if you went to a school where nobody got a little giggly or silly when they did the anatomy stuff, then you weren't having any fun.
No. And then, I said, did they have to talk about, the girls' time of the month? And they let girls chime in and say what happens to them, or like, these are some symptoms. And I've always had that conversation with him. I've been open and honest about periods with him. And I'm like, if a girl is walking down the hallway and you see that she might have some blood on her butt and she doesn't know, you take your sweatshirt off and you tell her, you whisper it in her ear, do not draw attention to it. And I remember when I told him that, I said, she'll wrap the sweatshirt around her and go to the nurse. That's it. And he's like, "But what if it's a really nice sweatshirt?"
Yeah, that's exactly what
I'll
I thought.
get you a new sweatshirt. If you help a girl out like that, you get a new sweatshirt of your choice. So I guarantee he's looking for blood all the time because he wants a new sweatshirt.
So that's wrong. So I never had the talk with my boys about the girls' time of the month.
Yeah.
Because I thought, listen, I came from a dad who was a military guy, so that conversation never happened with me. And I feel like as a boy, as a man, as a male, finding that out on your own and kind of understanding it on your own terms is like a rite of passage. So I figure, listen, if I had to figure it out myself.
Trish never took the reins and
maybe
talked
she
to them
did.
about
Maybe
it?
she did, but I for sure didn't. I went out of my way to not do it because I want them to, like, you know, when it comes to that time where it's part of their life, then they should have that experience on their own. I don't want to predestine anything for them.
I do not think that we need to talk to them until they're blue in the face because it's something they don't deal with. But I want to raise a son that if his girlfriend says, I don't feel well, can you go get me my tampons, that he won't make that squeamish,
I'm sure my boys will do it. I had to do it.
We work with a grown man here that his grown girlfriend, living girlfriend, has asked him to do so along with his older daughters.
He shut it down?
He goes, oh my God, gross. If he even sees them out on the counter, I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? Who failed you?
The first time that happened to me, I was, I don't know, sophomore in college, and I had to, maybe a junior, and I had to go to the gas station because it was like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And my wife now is like, hey, you got to go get me some. And I didn't know what to get, and I was so like, you only hear a couple of words out of that conversation.
Yeah.
And I bought like 5 boxes because I didn't know what was right. And I just remember coming back at the little bag and I set it down and I go, what one works?
Yeah.
She goes, I think they'll all work. All right. And she's like, I'm loaded up for, like 5 months now.
It's trial and error for all females. So I would never expect a man to know exactly what to get at all. But I love to run into like those door dashers or whatever, the men that are standing in the period aisle.
God, that
because
they have
I'm
to
like,
get that done.
And you know how many just look so lost?
Yeah.
And I think it's my duty as a female. I'll say, do you need help with something? And then they'll be like, supers.
And if you're going to do that, don't you get really intimate with the details as far as which ones you want on your DoorDash receipts?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we'll do topics where it's like, do you plan on quitting your job this week? What's the reason? It's probably a boss or how you've been treated. But I don't know if we've ever gotten one that was so creative that someone was planning on going above and beyond to make sure that the people knew that they were not going to work there anymore. This guy hired a mariachi band. He worked at Cracker Barrel.
We just got a new general manager. She doesn't know how to manage. She does nothing. She does absolutely nothing. I don't like her aura. I don't like her spirit. She put me on a final warning because she said I did a no-call, no-show 2 weeks ago. But I actually texted a different manager saying that I'm super sick and I have the flu.
So, anyway, went on and on for his reason why he quit Cracker Barrel. After 13 years, by the way.
Have you ever seen, geez, you keep an employee like that, right?
Exactly.
You ever seen the one where the guy hires, he's working at a coffee shop and he hires a barbershop quartet?
No.
And he's got these 4 guys behind him all in their straw hats and everything and their bow ties.
Yeah.
And he comes in and he said, and his 2 managers standing there and he goes, Brian, James,
listen up.
I got something to tell you. And but it was like on good terms. Like I think he was working there as he had like just graduated college and then he got his big boy job, right?
Yeah.
And these guys break into this barbershop routine and then at the end he goes, and I quit. And everybody in the place is like, yay. And then he goes over and gives them hugs and everything like that. So it wasn't like, really mean. And, and I think if you hire somebody and they get their degree, you expect them to eventually move on if it's a coffee shop or a fast food place or a Cracker Barrel like that.
Yeah. Actually, there are lifers at the old place I used to work at Rainforest. Like, I have gone back before, I don't know, within the last 5 years. And there are people that are still working there going on 25 years. And I don't know maybe they have a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday and then just like rake in the big bucks on the weekend.
Yeah, some
which
tip
is
stuff.
Possible.
Well, you know what they say is you don't quit a job, you quit a boss.
True.
And so I'm assuming at the Rainforest Cafe, if these people are working there for 20 years, they're probably there's probably some good management there.
Yeah. So I don't know. If you're planning on leaving a job, obviously you don't want to leave a bad taste in their mouth, but sometimes you just want to get the.
I don't know. If you're going to burn a barrel, do it at Cracker Barrel. You know what I mean?
Doubt.
Like, or burn a bridge. Do it at Cracker Barrel. But like, if you were to up and quit today, like you get a different job or you hit the lottery or whatever,
I'm
would you
so
do anything?
quiet. No one would know. I would just send my email to Brian, and that's it. That would be it.
And would it be the worst if you didn't return your email for like 3 days and you're like, guys, I'm trying to quit here? It's always just a little bit of a noodle scratcher for me. Kat says that if she hears your first name, she can predict what you do for a living.
Yeah. And the ones that throw me off are the weird spellings for names that I'm normally used to, a different spelling. But need to know your first name, and I can tell you what you do for a living.
So your odds of getting one past Kat is like if your name is Michaela, but it has a P and a J in it.
Right.
Like because your parents were high.
I'll need you to spell it out.
Then yeah. And what's your first name here, bud?
Yeah, my first name's Cody.
Cody, like C-O-D-Y, Cody?
Yeah.
Okay, Kat, what do you think Cody does for a living here?
Cody, let's see here, C-O-D-Y. Do you work with like vulnerable adults?
Yeah.
Wow. That is so cool. And it's got to be like one of the most rewarding careers, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Is it tough? Do you bring your work home at night or are you able to separate?
We're able to separate.
All right. And how long have you been doing this, man?
Not that long, maybe like 2 months.
Something you want to keep doing?
Yeah.
Sometimes when you start something like that, a job with a big heart, you catch that bug. So good for you.
Yeah, what's that like to have a big heart, Cody?
It can be tough at sometimes.
And again, all you got to do is get at us. What's your first name, by the way?
Kimberly.
And it's just regular Kimberly.
Yes.
All right, Kat, what do you feel for Kimberly here? What do you think she does for a living?
You know what's crazy? Angela's, Kimberly's, and Dave's are always super easy for me. Kimberly, you're a social worker, but are you in teaching too?
I went to school for to be a teacher.
Oh my God!
Look at me.
Right. So what does the rest of your day today look like, Kimberly?
Oh, I don't know. We're getting ready for the Minnesota State High School hockey game today.
Okay, so you're skipping work. You're going to the AA games today. So we'll have fun at that, and I appreciate you checking in.